Welcome everyone to Beyond the Veil Media, and the title of the video was Why Institutions Teach Information and Not Perception. So have you guys ever noticed that most institutions are very good at teaching information, but not very good at teaching perception? We're taught what to know, what to believe, what to repeat, but very rarely how to perceive, discern, or directly experience meaning for ourselves, right? And that raises an important question. Is something missing intentionally or not intentionally, but structurally? So institutions exist to preserve continuity. They protect text, traditions, rules, hierarchy, and consistency over time. That's not inherently bad. Without institutions, a lot of knowledge would disappear entirely, and we don't want that. But preservation and perception are not the same thing. Sorry, everybody, I'm sick. So, information can be standardized. It can be written down, it can be tested, it can be repeated word for word. Perception cannot. You cannot standardize awareness. You can't grade discernment. And you can't mass produce lived experience. And that creates a quiet divide. So when we look at ancestral cultures, learning wasn't primarily about absorbing facts, but it was about participation, embodiment, observation, and relationship. And knowledge wasn't learned through cycles, rituals, symbols, seasons, direct engagement with nature and community, not because they lacked information, but because perception wasn't considered foundational. Institutions require predictability, control, and uniform understanding. But perception introduces variability. So two people can read the same text and perceive it completely differently, right? We've all had that. Like, you and I would never read the Bible or anything the same exact way and get the same exact outcome. We would both tell a different story of what we got out of it and how we perceived it, right? That was just an example. But it's just difficult for any system built on authority and consistency. And over time, emphasis shifts. Not because anyone planned it, but because it's what systems can manage. When learning becomes primarily informational, certain things quietly will fall away. Things like breath as regulation, rhythm as learning, earth as orientation, astrology as time and pattern observation, silence as a teacher. Not because they're wrong, but because they don't fit the institutional frameworks. This isn't limited just to educational systems either. Religious institutions face the same challenges. Texts are preserved, doctrine is taught, structure is maintained. But mystical experience, embodiment, and direct consciousness are much harder to transmit safely at scale. So what survives is instruction, not initiation. And this is important to say clearly. This doesn't require deception, it doesn't require conspiracy, and it doesn't require bad intentions. It only requires systems doing what systems naturally do. Simplify, stabilize, and standardize. But simplification always leaves something out. Many people today feel like something is missing, even when they've been well educated or well informed or taught. And that feeling doesn't mean that teachings were false. It just means they were incomplete. Information without perception creates knowledge, but not orientation. Because they always like to feed us a little bit of truth. They always have a little bit of truth in everything that we've learned. But slowly, things get pulled away from us for us to be able to know things, because the masses, so to speak, say that we don't need to anymore, right? Like, it's not good for us for whatever their reasons may be. And so that's how we lose different things over time, you know. So the question isn't whether institutions failed us. The question is, what kinds of knowing can institutions never fully teach? And where do we naturally go when we want to recover those ways of knowing? And maybe this is why people are returning to things like breath and rhythm and astrology and nature and embodying practices. Not as a rebellion, just because it's a remembrance in us, inside of us. We are trying to remember who we are and where we come from and what it actually means to be human, right? And it's not just to replace institutions. I believe that we just need to integrate the lost knowledge that we stopped practicing and integrating with and put it into the institutions of today. New ways of teaching, right? And to recover, what they were never designed to hold. And remember, Beyond the Veil Media isn't about rejecting systems. It's about noticing limits and asking what lives beyond them. So if this raised questions that you haven't heard or asked before, you're in the right place. And please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and share with others that you might find that it might resonate with. And so if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And until next time, thank you for joining, and y'all have a great New Year's.